Welcome to Inside Games Daily, the only gaming news show brave enough to run positive headlines about new releases twice in a week. That never happens.
Yeah, it's 2 games back to back that everyone loves to love, which is a very rare occasion, but we're going to jump on it as hard as we can. We like celebrating games here, especially ones with a fun story and something quirky to say.
Indie turn-based RPG Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a hit. I just realized I don't even know what Clair Obscur is. I only played like the first 3 hours of this. I don't think I was paying attention enough. I know what Expedition 33 is. I don't know what Clair Obscur is.
Yeah, Let's feed that into Google Translate, huh? Clair Obscur translates to chiaroscuro, which is a film technique. It basically involves like high contrast. It's very synonymous with noir film. A lot of white and black. You got me thinking now. I wonder what relevance that has to the story. It was common technique in Renaissance painting as well. Anyway, the game's developers, Sandfall, have announced via the game's X account that they've crossed 1 million sales just 3 days after release, which is just phenomenal momentum for a small indie game that could.
Yeah, that's also excluding the Game Pass players, which is amazing. According to the game's active player stats on Steam are très bien. The game hit a 24-hour concurrent player peak of 121,000 people over the weekend. IGN notes that beats the bloomers off of Metaphor Refantasio, which hit a peak concurrent player count of 85,000.
And even that was considered a runaway success for turn-based JRPGs. I've heard this called a JRPG, get a little apostrophe in there.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. And like you said, Bruce, yeah, this game's also available via Game Pass. And all the players like me that are playing it on Game Pass, not included in those numbers, so the actual player counts are likely a lot higher.
This game is also a critical and popular darling. There's a Metacritic score of 92, which ties Blueprints for top aggregate rating of the year so far.
Yeah, this is a very rare occasion, because unlike Blueprints, the user score is also extremely high. Extremely high, actually. 97, which is pretty unheard of and might be a record.
Yeah, that's right. Paul Tassi over at Forbes reckons this might be one of the highest review scores for any game ever, before claiming the game doesn't really deserve such a high rating after saying he hadn't played it yet. Come on, Paul.
Yeah, games writer's gonna write. I see where he's coming from, though. You look at a game like Expedition 33. Is it genuinely the most beloved game of all time on Metacritic?
No.
Probably not. But it's the moment,
Yeah.
It's the narrative, and yeah, everybody kind of rides emotions collectively. And I'm okay with overlooking the fact that everyone's kind of on the love train right now instead of hate training.
Paul Tassi isn't the only writer a little grumbled up over Expedition 33's uncharacteristic success. Is he, Lawrence?
It's article writing season. You got to find a headline and you got to put something up. Nick Rubin slides in with the actually nobody really asked for, challenging the repeated tagline that Expedition 33 was made by a dev staff of about 30.
Yeah. Rubin points out that an 8-person Korean studio helped with animation, in addition to dozens more in QA and audio production, which does make sense. Those people did work on the game. They might, independent contractors, those sorts of things, but they worked on the video game.
They sure did. Yep. And there's a whole, choir that sing along with the soundtrack, music producers and all that sort of thing. So take that, indie devs, I guess. He has an actual point, which is that this game shouldn't be held up as like evidence that modern AAA is bloated and stupid, even though people are going to do that. Also, even if you bump the dev count on Expedition to 60 or 70, 80, whatever, it's still very impressive.
That's right. Rubin is also reacting to seeing Expedition 33's quality weaponized against the state of game development in general, which is kind of what Lawrence was alluding to. And I get that. That makes sense. This game does not have the scale of an Assassin's Creed Shadows, that sort of thing. It's still a great video game. It's still great, and I love it, and it's awesome. But it doesn't have the same scale, and that's okay.
Yeah, but I think most players right now are tired of that scale, and that's being reflected in love-ups like this.
Yeah.
That reaction didn't come from nowhere. There are other articles that are essentially doing that exact thing, like we said. Jets Corden's article on Windows Central claims that Expedition 33, this is a heavy headline, quote, utterly destroys Square Enix's gaslighting over Final Fantasy turn-based combat.
Corden claims that Expedition 33's sales indicate that there is a market hunger for turn-based RPGs, despite what Square has said. But Square is operating at a very large scale, and this is an indie team, right, that is looking to sell a few million copies, and they're going to do it. It's great. But Square like has shareholders and stuff, so it's like they have to sell 20 million, and Expedition 33 is going to sell 5. So, and that's great, by the way. That's like a huge viral hit. That they kind of got lucky on that one.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Bruce. I see people making these equivalences all the time, and I get it from purely from a consumer perspective. Every product on the shelf looks the same. But yes, when you're dealing with dev staffs of hundreds, it starts to, like, the logistics of that and the earnings that you need to bring in to compensate for all that spending starts to change how you make your decisions. So yeah, a JRPG might sell 3 or 4 million, but if Square's, like you said, targeting 20 million, and that's the number they need to hit to satisfy their investors and all their employees, it's going to change the strategy a little bit. We'll see if Expedition 33 gets there. I looked it up before we started filming. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think, hit about 7 million, which is less than Square would want, of course. This is traditional thinking, but I think it still applies to some degree, that a game like Expedition is going to have a certain cap on who it's going to appeal to. If you need to hit 20 million sales, you kind of can't make a turn-based JRPG because they just don't sell like that. You can make a modest JRPG like Expedition and still turn a profit. So yeah, where Square's at and the tech they're dealing with and the production scope that their games are, they're not allowed to do that anymore.
That's right. Also, please don't let us... We're not talking down Expedition 33 at all. This is just more of like, in the context of other video games, we're talking about how maybe some people are maybe talking it up too much. Regardless, all of this is very great news for a very plucky and ambitious game that was in danger of being completely overshadowed by the Oblivion Remaster Shadow Drop. So it's great that both of these are succeeding and both are being played a ton.
Yeah, how great is that? This is the best of all situations, really. Unfortunately, you know, other games weren't quite so lucky. Some indie games did sort of get swept under the rug with Oblivion. We mentioned it on the day it came out, but Raw Fury's Silent Hill adjacent game, Post Trauma, released, and yeah, I think it may have gotten a little brushed over.
Yeah, no, that's true. Publisher Raw Fury filmed a whole skit to announce the game's re-release. They said, quote, "Except we're not unreleasing it first, and it's pretty much the same."
Yeah, they just have a new fake release date to try again. But yeah, give it a shot, especially if you've got some PS2 nostalgia for the old school Silent Hills in there. Although it is worth shouting out, Raw Fury's other recent indie release, Blueprints, seems to be doing quite well, so that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a little final bit for you. Game Pass has just been absolutely destroying it. I've been talking about this a lot on stream because every game that I've streamed now is on Game Pass, and I'm like, don't buy the game if you just want to try it. Pay the $10 or $15 a month or whatever it is, and just try all of these games. You got Indiana Jones, Stalker 2, Blueprints, Balatro, Expedition 33, Oblivion Remastered, Atomfall. There's just so many. These are huge releases that you don't have to pay full retail for.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that because the narrative for a long time is that Xbox has just been dropping the ball. And I think up until maybe last November, that was kind of true. But they've had just not like multiple high caliber releases on their subscription service for the last 5 or 6 months. And we got Doom the Dark Ages coming up in addition to a lot of other stuff. So it's, I constantly, especially with, you know, a lot of the conversations about games getting more expensive, there are ways to save some money. It just requires a little pivot of perception, I guess.
Yeah, a little tip, because I saw someone leave a trolly comment that was like, "Oh man, be a critical thinker," or whatever they said. Bruce telling people to get Game Pass is ridiculous. Just it's $50 if you subscribe for 5 months. And I was like, what? Subscribe for 1 month. Subscribe for 1 month and then cancel immediately. So that little tip for anything that's subscription based, because there's a lot. If you're going to sign up for something brand new, sign up and then cancel immediately. Literally go to the website and cancel right away. Then you'll have 30 days of whatever you paid for to try it, and then you won't have to worry about whether or not it auto renews and any of that bullshit.
Yeah, if you beat one game in that month, you've already gotten your money back. And if you decide to renew the next month because it's cheaper than buying the next game you want to play, I mean, that's the whole point, right? But yeah, I've been playing a shitload of games and saving a lot of money with it. Disclosure, I am part of like a Game Pass affiliate program. It doesn't mean that I'm knocking on doors and selling Game Pass, but Xbox does send me a Game Pass code for PC every month. So there you go, disclosure.
I mean, they don't send me those codes, and I recommend that every 10 times out of 10. I'm like, this is a crazy deal. You can play all of these games that I've been streaming, and again, if you just use just a little bit of actual critical thinking, cancel right away, and then you've got a month of all of these amazing games. And then if you want to do it again the next month, whenever you want, do it. You don't have to worry about the auto renew.
Absolutely. That's how I do all my video services. I buy them 1 month at a time. And then if I log into something and it says you got to sign up, then I make the decision again, is it worth it for another month? Speaking of critical thinking and putting your money to very good and productive places, we have a Patreon that supports the show, keeps our editors fed and clothed, and keeps Bruce and I swimming in Game Pass codes. So appropriately, we'd like to shout out a couple of the patrons that directly support our show, specifically Name Hogger, Brandon Young, and Matt Bogenberger. We love you even more than we love Game Pass. Can you imagine it?
That's a lie. You lied, Lawrence.